let's get into a little bit of a debate, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in to episode number 4 of the GM's chair, and I promise you it's going to be a good one. Reed and I, we've already been having debates prior to coming onto the show, but now we're going to have a few more debates, especially for that last topic. I know you guys can see that. It's Line Ace trade talk. We're going to cover that. We're going to catch you up on what happened around the NHL during this summertime. Not too much, so we're going to kind of breeze over that. And then we're going to go over some rule changes that could potentially impact the game. So, without further ado, let's catch up. Reed, how are you doing since episode number 3?
Absolutely wonderful. It's been a great week, and I'm so excited to see this upcoming week.
Well, I'll tell you, the sun has been shining. The last time we talked about how hot it's been, and man,
Yes.
oh man, I just envision myself sitting on a beach right now, somewhere sipping a mai tai or a pina colada or something, just to relax.
I'm
Ah,
waiting for snow. Waiting for snow.
I am, and it's just around the corner. So
Yes.
we've had teams do their rookie camps, kind of look through their rookie roster to see who's going to be good, who can they put on the minor league team. Then we see some other guys trying to go for PTO contracts. What have we heard coming out of the NHL right now in terms of that?
So, the Blackhawks have recently signed, as of August 5th, they signed Merrick Vanacker. Uh, Colorado has made two moves since the 5th. They signed Oliver Kylington and Matthew Phillips.
Hmm.
Washington signed Leon Mugli, or he is assigned to a European team. Sorry. And Ottawa signed Carter Yamachuk. That's about it since August 5th. We're in that season dead zone
Yep.
where we're right at the end of free agency. I believe we're 5 weeks in, so it's not looking very active anymore. I think teams have kind of settled on this is what we're going to do this off season. Other than that third topic, obviously,
Yep.
that's kind of a question mark right now, but it seems like everybody's pretty set with what they have. I know that there's been some rumors at least in Columbus, about one of their players, Cole Sillinger, possibly getting signed. They think they're kind of close to getting that deal done. So we'll see in the next week, kind of what that shapes out to be.
Okay. So teams are just kind of filling out their rosters now. We're not really going to see anything major other than if it were a trade, realistically.
Correct. Yeah, that's kind of what it's looking is. We're just kind of waiting to see what else teams want, but it seems like everybody's pretty okay with where they're sitting as of right now.
Okay. What about the rule changes? You brought up an interesting notion about a rule change.
Yeah, so there's been four. They're really not changes, more adjustments in wording and adjustments to certain rules. So the big one is going to be Rule 38.2, situations subject to coaches' challenges. They're now going to be permitted to take down penalty for puck out of play. This will only apply to delay a game penalties when the puck is determined to have been deflected off a player, stick, glass, or the boards, and is not a judgment call of how the puck left the defensive zone. It's like batted, or if the puck was shot out from the defensive zone.
See,
In the event of a failed challenge, another 2-minute penalty will be assessed onto that.
see, I'm glad that you brought that up because we're gonna have a debate right now.
Okay.
Should coaches be penalized for challenging a play?
I don't think they should be penalized, but I think putting maybe a limit on how many of them you can challenge, almost like what the NFL does, where you can challenge, but you get two a game, and if you get one of them right, you retain that challenge.
I
But
mean,
if you lose it,
shouldn't so think about it. If I'm a coach and I have certain angles, cameras that I can look at, and I can challenge a play, I have to make sure that Toronto has that same footage and they
right,
understand and see the angle I'm seeing when I make a
right,
challenge, right? Because if
right,
I make that decision that's wrong, now I'm not only penalized, but I lose my coach's challenge just in case something like that happens again.
right,
So I think what they should do is realize number one, hockey is about karma. Okay, their
Very much
skill
so.
is there, but there's karma within the game. In basketball, it's the ball don't lie. In hockey,
Right.
it's the puck will never the puck doesn't lie,
Right.
right? So we have all this technology. Why don't they just put a sensor in the puck, and if it goes over the boards, there's a sensor. It tells you it's over the boards. No more coaches challenges because the
Right.
the puck should have the ability to read what stick touches it. If all these sticks have their technology in them, right? So the whole coaches challenge thing, I think that's okay, but in some of those cases, down low, how can you tell? In real
Well,
time, how can you tell who's lifting the puck out?
so I kind of understand the want for like a chip or something inside the puck to maybe help with placement or TV broadcasts, such things like that. I just think that it's going to be kind of difficult because I don't know if you've seen, but right before certain face-offs, the refs will normally look at the bottom of the puck. On the bottom of the puck, there's an NHL logo. And if it turns white, it means the puck is no longer frozen. So they'll change that out. So inside one of the penalty box, I believe it's normally the home
I didn't
penalty
know that.
box. Yes. So inside the home penalty box, there is a freezer that is kept below freezing so that when they need to exchange the puck, it's going to be brought a brand new frozen puck is going to be brought out. So I think that kind of makes it difficult to have microchips or something like that inside the puck, especially when it's solid plastic as it is. Having it be solid plastic and frozen, I don't know if right now the technology is available to be able to sustain a microchip inside of the puck. So I think it's.
But then again,
I
it could
agree with
also
you.
with the type of like equipment that the players have now, they're slapping these pucks at hundreds of
Yeah,
miles per hour, so it could easily break any one of those chips.
correct. So it's kind of iffy on how are you going to get it. How are you going to get the chip in there? Because then you have to think of that. Okay, so if you put a new chip in it, you're going to have to get permission from the players. They're going to have to play with it to see if it is weighed different, if there's
So then take away the
any.
rule. Ta ta
Yeah,
ta take away the rule that says I'm
yeah,
gonna penalize you for challenging a play that you would have otherwise thought is challengeable.
yeah. I don't think that it should be challengeable. I think if the puck goes over, regardless of where, if it's even if you're in your attacking zone, I don't think the if the puck goes over, you shouldn't that should not be challengeable. It's gone. How are you going to challenge that? It should just be and I don't think it should be I don't think it should be a delay of game.
I mean,
I think that
they
it should
just use
just
it
be
to
a new
buy time because they
Yeah,
don't
I think
drop
it
the
should
puck
just
right
be a
away.
no. I I think that it should just be the puck's out of bounds, bring it to the face-off circle and drop it again.
Speaking of which, I hate that delay of game penalty as well.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
I hate it. It's literally the worst thing ever. Whereas coaches can bring a referee over to the bench and delay him
Yeah,
for 30 seconds to a minute just to give his guys a breather. But I digress. The
or
rule
even longer.
changes. The rule changes are however they are, and that's up to the purview of the NHL to make. But I think it's quite interesting, um, especially when it comes to anything coaching challenge related. I feel like coaches, because you look at the NFL. The NFL, they have their coaches challenge. Coach just pulls it out of his, shoe, throws it. If he gets it, he gets it. If he doesn't, the team is already penalized anyways by losing the yardage that they
Right,
would have otherwise, reversed.
right,
Right? So they don't really get an extra penalty on top of that. So, for example, Bill Belichick, I'm going to challenge a player. He loses the challenge. They don't tack on another 50 yards for delay of game.
right.
Right? So, like,
And
I
that's
think
kind of
NHL needs to do that. Just make it so that you're
yeah,
not penalizing to do the challenge.
yeah. Because I mean, you're already going to get the delay a game.
Yeah.
So you're saying that if the coach fails, you're going to get another 2 minute. According to the verbiage, you're getting another 2 minute minor penalty tacked on top of it to where all because you thought or the coach thought that the puck may have gone over the boards in the defending zone. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I understand you got to change the wordage of certain things every so often just to keep things in full clarity. But I just don't like this. I don't like this rule, and I don't like the. I just think there's going to be a lot of backlash from it.
I remember a time when they had nothing but rule changes on goaltender equipment. It was either
Yeah.
too big or too small, or you had to. And I feel like that's happening here with the whole coaches challenge thing, which is
Yep.
crazy because at the end of the day, in the offensive zone, defensive zone, coaches cannot challenge anything that with a puck goes over the glass.
Right.
That's up to the referee. In my opinion, it should be up to the referee. If he sees it, he sees it. He doesn't, he doesn't.
Right.
Right? But you should be able to challenge goals. The offside thing, I mean, I have my that I think my biggest thing with the NHL is I want them to look at goaltender interference. That's a rule change that they need to look at, not this whole coaches challenge stuff. They need to be looking at goaltender interference. What is goaltender interference? I've seen goalies get pushed over. I've
Right.
seen goalies just get lightly tapped.
Right.
And believe it or not, the one that's pushed over doesn't get the penalty.
Right.
The one that's
See,
lightly tapped gets it.
I almost wonder if something like goaltender interference, should there be an intent? So, like, if they're making a hockey play driving to the net, and a defender comes and kicks their skates out from underneath them or hits them with a stick, whatever the case may be, is that goaltender interference? Just because, I mean, he's on ice, he's not going to stop right away, so he's clearly going to keep sliding,
Yeah.
sometimes into the goaltender.
And if
That should not be
players are driving attackers into their goaltender, that's don't count that as goaltender interference. Your players are
right.
doing that.
Exactly. I
'Cause
think there's a lot of like a fog around that rule as well, which should be cleared up. But
all right, well, the NHL has a intensive list of rules, and I promise you, there are going to be a lot more rule changes along the way. There's going to be. There has to be. In order for this game to be better and quicker and faster, there's going to be more rule changes.
oh yeah,
And we'll see. Maybe the coaches get their challenges back, rightfully so. They put a limit
right.
on where they can challenge them. All right. Reed,
th-
I got to ask you
the
this
next,
question.
yeah, go for it.
If you were the coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets
Okay.
and you were in the defensive zone,
Okay.
your player cleared the puck over the boards. However, it was believed to be tipped by another player. In this confusion, as the coach, do you call a challenge? Because it's one win away from getting you into the Stanley Cup.
I think I think I would if it's believed to have been tipped off of another player, because then it's not really at the fault of our team and can't be put back into our zone and on top of the delay of game. I think if it's tipped by another player, yes, I would challenge it.
Okay, and say you challenged it. Video review revealed that the puck actually did not touch the other player's stick. And now you have a 2 minute penalty for delay of game and an additional 2 minute penalty for challenging, which could have reversed your decision to not have a penalty at all.
So I think I would be rightfully probably pretty ticked off, because I don't know if I'd necessarily be ticked off at the rule or if I would be more ticked off at like my own decision making and not been able to verify it that it did
Not
tip another player.
not even that. I mean, just look at it. You as a coach in that situation, you have an option. Either you go down one man for 2 minutes and get the delay of game penalty, or you go two man down for 4 minutes for challenging what could have been zero. It's like double or
I mean,
nothing. You bet on
yeah,
that coach's challenge, and that's
yeah,
not what the coach's challenge should do. It's not. I don't think it should be something that you have to double down on to
Right.
get a better reward. You're just getting more punished.
You know what I see this turning into? I see this turning into something that goes to Toronto very frequently. And if it doesn't go to Toronto, even if it goes to Toronto, I see this being something that may take 2 or even 3 looks at by Toronto to, I wouldn't even say get it right, because it almost seems like half the time then that happens, the opinions of the public are pretty 50-50.
Right.
But I see this as something that is going to be frequently sent to Toronto.
Well, hopefully they figure it out. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what they get paid for, right? And I'm gonna trust their judgment. And I've watched this game for many, many years, and I've never stopped. I've trusted their judgment along the way, so I'm gonna trust their judgment now.
Yep. Moving into the next rule. The next rule is going to be another modification to Rule 63.8, which is line change after a dislodged net. So, currently, they're not allowed to make a defense or a skater change after a defense or after the goaltender accidentally dislodges the net. Nobody's allowed to come off the ice. Um, and the modification is going to be that the defensive team cannot make a line change in the event that its goaltender accidentally dislodges the net. So previously, it just applied to the old language was that it was skater.
See, and that's where I would change that rule because if your goaltender dislodges the net by accident or he's making a hockey play,
Right.
that's it's a rule in play. You should be able to
Yeah.
change. You should be able to change
Yep.
your defenders. That's just naturally how the hockey played. But if your
I agree.
goaltender goes out of the way to lift the net off purposely
Right.
or shake their helmet off purposely or a defender takes the net off purposely, that should be a penalty because
Yep.
that's a delay of game. You are
Yes.
breaking the flow of the game. That's where the
I agree.
defenders should get a penalty. That's a incredible oversight, in my opinion, by the NHL to not see that that's how it should be. But then again, those are my opinions. Please don't take them for it being the NHL opinion. But to me,
I
that seems
can't
like common
remember
sense.
exactly. There was a goalie that was that did that recently, where lost his stick, and then the other team was making an advance towards his net, and he just turned around, pushed the net off because he lost his stick and didn't want to skate out to get it.
I have no idea, but I don't know which goaltender that is, but I know exactly what you're describing. And for some reason, whoever can figure that out, post it in the comments because my
Yes,
guess
please.
is going to be none other than Sergei Bobrovsky.
I don't. It might have been Bobrovsky. I can't remember off the top of my head which goalie it was. I want to say it's a red team, but
That's what I'm saying. There's red and white. That I
yep.
know. I can't tell which one. Could have been Chris
Yeah,
Osgood. Could have been Mike Vernon. Could have been
I think it's a bigger name. And I think he's playing right now. I just can't remember.
Linus Ullmark. I'm just kidding.
And then the next one is the next rule modification is to Rule 76.4, which is face-off procedures for centers. Following an icing, the offensive center also will now receive one warning for a face-off violation. So they used to be able to get, I believe, 2 warnings.
Yeah.
So now
So
they're only going to get 1. I don't see that being too huge of an impact for the flow of the game. I see it maybe irritating a few centers, but I mean, just kind of flow with it, buddy. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, they might as well just take it right out because
Yeah.
they do that now. I mean, last few games I saw in the playoffs, they were automatically throwing centers out of the face-off dot.
Yep.
Like it was. I've never seen centers be thrown out of face-off dots that many times. It's
Yep.
insane.
And
Like
this,
they might as well take it out.
I believe it's because home centers were getting 2, or offensive centers were getting 2 warnings, defensive centers were getting 1. So I believe that's just to level the playing field.
Just imagine if in the future the puck is underneath the ice and there's a timer and
Oh, it just shoots it up?
it just shoots it up. You know how we had
That'd be
that
sweet.
as kids?
Yeah.
Like a little timer on those. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It just shoots the puck up when the time goes. I feel like offense and defense would get their line changes done pretty quick
Oh,
because
yeah.
they now know the time, and there
Yep.
would be that human error of the ref or the linesman dropping the puck.
Right.
I mean, there's a
Man,
lot of good
that
centers
would add
out
some
there.
excitement.
There's a lot of good centers out there, and I'll tell you, it takes a lot of skill to play center. Not only do you have to worry about the body, but you have to worry about the entire group of bodies around you. So
Right.
you got to worry about that puck. You got to get that
Right.
puck, and that's why so many of them are so good at as soon as that puck touches the ice, it's on their stick.
Yep.
Like they don't let it hang around, and if they do hang around, they're strong enough to keep the other person off that puck.
Yep.
So I think
Sidney
centers,
Crosby's made a living out of it.
he's made a living out of it. So I think with centers, like having those big time centers is so crucial. But when they get thrown out of the faceoff dot, now you just need to have one, two, maybe three big centers on your team who can
Yeah.
alternate them. The Oilers did that with two really good centers, McDavid and Nugent Hopkins on one line.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'd throw Draisaitl up there, so just in case somebody got kicked out of the faceoff dot, you still have a premier center.
Right.
So that's going to make matchups. I think in this season, I think that's going to change matchups a lot
I agree.
because, man, you'll see
Only
just
getting one
being
warning.
one warning and you're thrown out. That changes how coaches bring their lines out. Can
Yep.
their defensive forward win the faceoff that they need to win
Right.
or get thrown out?
Uh, and then the final one is unsportsmanlike conduct. This is Rule 75.3. Players sitting on the boards. The referee will now provide the offending team, coaches, and players with one warning regarding players sitting on the boards and will so advise the other team. After one warning a game, the team participating in the warning will be issued a bench minor penalty for future violations. So you're getting one warning for your players sitting on the boards. And then after that, every time you violate the rule, you're getting a bench minor.
I mean, like that's childish.
And I think that's more geared towards player safety because if let's say they're skating up near side right along the benches and a hit happens, but you also have somebody sitting on the boards ready to go in, I think that could cause some concern for
Oh,
not only for the player that's on the bench, but the player that's getting hit into the bench. You could end up hurting two people. So
I
I don't think this is necessarily like I don't think it's necessarily
I mean, I agree with you. Player safety paramount. Whoever gets that penalty, throw them out of the game. You know the
yeah,
rules. Get off the boards. There's people playing
yep,
hockey here.
yeah,
You
I
don't
can
know
agree with
that?
that.
You don't know that? We're gonna go sit you down.
Yep,
Because I
I
promise
can
you,
agree
you
with
won't
that.
see that unsportsmanlike conduct anymore.
Right,
You got to give the harshest like penalty right there
right.
to nip it
I
in the
my
bud.
my question is how many coaches and or players are willing to risk the bench minor in like a pivotal situation? So like let's say you're in the Stanley Cup Finals and your line change is coming up,
Hmm.
like and you know it's coming up now. It's the Stanley Cup Finals. Are you gonna risk that bench minor so that you can have a quicker line change and maybe have an advantage?
Team should be quicker.
Teams should be quicker, but some aren't. So I'm curious to see how many teams will actually
But
risk
that's what separates
the
the
bench.
teams, is the ones
Yep,
that can adjust it quicker. They're going to be more successful with it.
I agree. And there's that pattern within the NHL as it is that you see the teams that do get their line changes done quicker, they're normally a lot better.
Yeah, I mean they're executing their line changes with speed. They're
Right.
building up kind of like how the West Coast is built up, like the Oilers, the Avalanche, the Golden Knights, the Jets. Even like it's all transition breakout of the zone, quick line changes, drive at you. hockey.
Right.
That's what that is. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, the unsportsmanlike. See, that's situational.
Right.
Because if somebody's sitting up there just to sit up there, but they're not getting a line change, they're just trying to interfere,
Right.
right? That's different.
That's
Whereas
an unsportsmanlike.
if someone is legitimately trying to line change and their guy is skating up to the boards and they're ready to jump over and they interfere with somebody else, no, that's not a bench minor.
No.
It shouldn't be. The guy's making
No,
a
I
line
agree.
change because there's no intent, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I don't think um I think it has to be intent based. And then that is the last of the rule modifications for this season.
They really get a lot of stuff done in the summer when hockey's
Yep.
like not around. Like a lot of the NHLPA stuff gets done.
Yeah.
A lot of the NHL administration stuff gets done. And this is what I like. I mean, this is why we watch hockey. This is why we are big fans of it. We debate it.
Yes.
We love the colors that we get to represent, the teams we get to represent, whether they are perennial in the basement chasing lottery picks or they're perennial cup contenders. We love them. It's a great sport. And you guys should start getting involved and getting into this sport, getting into opportunity to learn, watch as many games as you can from your local team or somewhere that's local to you. Study the game. It's going to be worth it because then you get to meet other fans who like to have debates with you about certain players that could be moving. And I might have stated somewhere on this red app that Laine would have been a potentially great trade option to another team. I won't speak of the team because it's not actually true and it was just something I speculated. But there's teams that would be interested in Laine, and Laine wants a trade. Columbus wants a trade. They're getting trades,
Yep.
but they're not taking trades. What's going
Correct.
on with Columbus, Reed?
So currently there's 3 destinations that I've seen that are interested in Patrik Laine. One is Carolina, which I don't think that they're going to be able to do just based off of they would have to unload like Seth Jarvis just to be able to afford Patrik Laine's salary. Um, One is Washington and one is Minnesota. And I kind of want to break down each of the 3 teams that are involved in this or potential destinations for Patrik.
Okay.
Um, so Minnesota, in order for them to be able to actually afford Patrik Laine, they're going to have to either um, offload goaltender Philip Gustafson, who's making 3.7 million and he's got 2 years left, or Freddie Gaudreau with 4 years and 2.1 million. But it's also important to note that they would also need to have Columbus retain more than they can. Realistically, they would need Columbus to agree to 50%, and they would also have to move money elsewhere because as it currently sits for 2024-2025, they're going to have 756,000 in available cap space. In 25-26, they're going to have 15 million in available cap space. So Columbus, Patrik Laine's salary of 8.7 million, I think is still going to be outside of that, even if they were to get rid of Freddie Gaudreau and Philip Gustafson, which would be combined like 5.8 million. I don't think that they give both of them to Columbus for Patrik Laine, so I don't see that as a viable option because, like I said, Don Waddell has already said that he doesn't want to have to retain salary. He said that he wants the Laine trade to be a hockey trade.
And see,
So,
that is so tough to ask
yep,
because Laine has not played
correct.
up to the
Would
potential that we have seen him play since he was in Winnipeg.
right.
So,
And sorry for cutting you off, but that's also something that I don't really see. I don't see Laine fitting in Minnesota just because Minnesota is known as a very physical, hit you in the mouth every night team. Laine is playing with glass bones, basically. He's hurt every single season, at least since he's been in Columbus, which that could be an organizational problem, admittedly. Just they're not surrounding him with people that can protect him, knowing that he's so prone to injury. But you put him in Minnesota, who is very known to be physical. I don't see him playing out the. Uh, I don't think his value is going to be there for Minnesota.
I mean, anywhere but Columbus, I think Laine is going to thrive. Anywhere but
Correct.
Columbus, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I just think that in Minnesota, I don't think that he fits that system. I think he would do good. I just don't know that the team would benefit from him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think he would fit
Another
there because Minnesota's a
no,
defensive team. Yeah.
correct, and that's kind of where what I was thinking is that there's no way because he's not a very defensive forward, and realistically, what you're gonna get from Laine, and granted, I think he's a great goal scorer, but he's had off years, obviously, since being in Columbus. I don't think that teams are really looking at it. I think teams are looking at it and Patrik Laine from 2016 to 2019 was this. So that's what we're getting. I don't think you're getting that anymore. I think he's aged. I think he's vulnerable. And I think that you're going to get a player who will score 25 goals and be negative 29 on the season.
That's a hot take.
I think that's just accurate.
You don't think he has a potential chance to be a top 20 goal scorer
No,
if given the right situation?
I don't. I think
Okay.
he's I think if you put him in Nashville, I think he could score more than 25 goals. I just think that he is played out.
You put him in Edmonton. How many does he score?
I'd put him in Edmonton 30, 35.
Okay. What team would you put him at scoring the least amount of goals?
Columbus.
What's next to Columbus?
Like Anaheim, maybe, or San Jose.
Why doesn't Columbus just call up Anaheim and just go 1-for-1 Zegras and Laine? Because you don't know
I
what you're
think
getting in
I think
Laine.
it's
I know that's a wild trade option, a trade that I'm putting out there, but
right.
you get a young player, you offload $8 million. He gets a fresh start in
Let's-
Anaheim. He gets to be the veteran presence and experience there. You surround
But
Johnny Gaudreau with younger players.
I mean, I could see it, but I don't think that Anaheim would go for it because they were only willing to pay Trevor Zegras 3.75 a year, whereas Patrik Laine's is 8.7. I I
Well,
think if you're not willing to pay for a young talent like Trevor Zegras, who I get, I've been very, very loud about he's only known for his few flashy plays. He's not. I think he's overrated, but I don't think Anaheim is going to. I think they're going to want if they make that kind of a trade.
Columbus retains
Oh
50%. It
yeah,
has to.
I think, and if he's going to get traded, which this leads me to believe that I don't think Patrik Laine gets traded this year because I think that if he was to try to get traded this year, I think Columbus is going to have to retain. I don't think even if Don Waddell, as good as he is as a GM, I don't think that any team is going to trade for him if Columbus does not retain some of his salary because you're getting an unsure player. You're getting a player who has
Trade
been
deadline.
hurt.
I'm
The
calling trade
trade,
deadline.
yeah, trade deadline I could see that when teams are desperate and they're making a push for the playoffs. But before that, I don't see it because Don Waddell does not want to retain any salary from Patrik Laine. But I think that every team, 31 other teams, are going to look at it and say, well, we're not taking that 8.7 unless you retain half of it. I don't see it. So me personally, I could see it within the week leading up to trade deadline. I don't think that you're going to see it done before then.
Imagine if he does something gutsy and just puts Laine on waivers,
That'd be wild.
and all
Almost like a
32
buyout.
teams pass.
Yeah. I mean, again, I can honestly kind of see it.
I can't see that. I guarantee you, if Patrik Laine were to be wavered, there would be a team immediately picking him up.
You know who I think it would be? I think it would be honestly, I think Washington, who's also been linked to Patrik Laine, I think Washington would claim him. Because Patrik Laine's deal is only for 2 more years, and I think that with Ovechkin, I think that we only realistically see 1, maybe 2 more years out of Ovi. So surrounding him with somebody else like Patrik Laine on a team with Tom Wilson who would keep him safe, I could see
No,
that.
I don't see how Laine on Washington would make any sense. I don't
It
know.
would help.
It would
It would
help
help
them,
feed. Yeah, it would help feed Ovi.
but who would Columbus get in return?
I mean, if it's through trade, I don't think Columbus gets anybody good for him. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't think they get anybody good from Washington. I don't think they get anybody good from any team. Not to
I
say
mean,
that I think Patrik Laine is horrible. What I think it is, what I think it boils down to is Patrik Laine's contract is horrible.
I think
I
okay,
think
I can agree with that, but I think there's also that skepticism of, is he going to be the Laine that we know prior to Columbus, or is he going to be
right,
the Laine that we get from Columbus?
which you can't really look back 4 years ago. You can't decide if you're going to sign a player based off 4 years ago stats because he's not that player.
Yeah.
Players change, players age, players regress, or they improve. And Line has showed in the past 4 years that he's on the decline. Now, is that situational? Possibly.
Oh, it's
It's
100%.
it's very possible that it's situational. Does he thrive in another system? Possibly.
I guarantee you he does.
I would like to see him traded back to Winnipeg if I'm going to be completely honest.
Winnipeg would be great, but I'm telling you, I guarantee you he would thrive in any other situation. It's I'm sorry, Columbus fans, but
No, but
whatever's going on in terms of management and coaching, like you guys have fixed up the coaching, ideally, what's happened this off season. The culture needs to change there because a lot of teams are getting players out of Columbus that turn into superstar players or go on to have better careers. Then people who
correct.
come and play in Columbus suddenly are not having the stellar career, right? So Rick Nash, he left Columbus and he continued to have a stellar career. Marian Gabrick. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And then you have
I mean,
players that were good prior to
even
coming to Columbus, and now they're not as good. I feel like bringing
right.
in Jonathan Huberdeau from Calgary would reverse the Columbus situation completely,
Yeah.
right? So it's partly, I would say it's 75% the system he plays in Columbus, and maybe their
Or
head coach
or
fixes it,
former system.
or former
Former
system,
system.
because this new head coach could provide a new system that
Right.
might actually work out for Laine, and then maybe Laine says, you know what, I rescind my trade offer. I
Well,
want to stay.
not only I don't think not only could the head coach change it for him, but I think a new GM could also change it for him because Don Waddell seems to be making moves that are wise for the future of Columbus with like re-signing Kirill Marchenko and Ken Johnson and now working on Cole Cylinder. He's trying to keep the core that's been there and has been working well together. And Yegor Chinnikov got an extension. He seems like he's trying to make sure he does the right moves in Columbus.
So are they in a rebuilding mode or are they in a
Uh,
retooling mode?
I think rebuilding, honestly.
So
That's why
then
they brought in Sean Monahan and Jack Johnson.
so then why not offload Laine for the best pick or prospect you can get and
See,
offload the contract so you have more money in the free agency?
I like the idea of him going to Carolina. Mainly because you can get somebody like Seth Jarvis, Seth Jarvis for him, and I feel like that's a pretty even trade personally. On as well, Carolina would benefit because in I can't remember what it was, U20 World Juniors, Laine played alongside fellow Finnish
So
in
then
Sebastian Aho.
where would he play in Carolina?
I think he would do good with Sebastian Aho
So he automatically gets top
on that
line.
line. Yeah. I think that they have chemistry there, and they're both Finnish, so I think that would be a formidable first line. I think the line should go with Aho, Sveshnikov, and Laine.
But they
I
haven't
think
played
that
together in
top
4
line is.
years.
I still think that it would
Longer.
be
I think it's been longer. They haven't played
longer.
together in a long time. So there's
Right.
no guarantee of that chemistry being there.
I mean,
I'm just playing devil's advocate. Like Carolina would be a
even
good place, but realistically
even
would
if
it
you're
be?
not even if you're not going to put him on the first line, or if you're not willing to separate with Seth Jarvis, I think that Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's a good trade, honestly. Retain 30% of of Line A salary, get Jesperi Kotkaniemi over to Columbus, and don't put him on your first line, but put him on your second or third until he builds chemistry with Sebastian Aho, and I think that that's a good enough trade,
He's a
honestly.
small forward though.
Who, Kotkaniemi?
Mhm.
I'm still okay with it. I've seen him play. I think he's good in face-offs. I don't think that he'd be top line in Columbus. I don't even think he'd be top two lines in Columbus.
Well, Columbus is a
But
small team. They keep getting pushed around.
yeah, yeah.
So why would you want a smaller
I
guy?
don't know how big Kotkaniemi is, but I think that them signing Sean Monahan kind of would I don't want to say outweigh it, but it would
They signed
equal out.
they signed experience with Sean Monahan.
Yes. Which I think is very valuable, and I think that everybody's saying that he's going to be top line. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
Here's another
I
reason
don't
why I
think
think Line
I
is
don't
going to
think
get
I'm putting
traded.
Sean Monahan over Fantilli.
Well, they just acquired Sean Monahan. And
Yeah,
Sean Monahan left a situation where this was happening in
right.
Winnipeg. What do
Yep,
we do with this player? What do we do with this star player? What do we do with this star player? Shifley, all these
right.
names, right? So he's experienced it. So he can say, hey, make the trade
Yep,
and you'll be fine.
yep,
We'll figure it out along the way. So now Columbus has cap space.
correct.
And if they can get a very good trade for Laine and if to retain 50% cap for 2 more
I
years,
think it's fine.
take it.
Yeah.
Whatever trade they can get.
Yeah, I 100% agree because Columbus's cap space as of this season is 10.8 and next season is 24
Yeah, because you
million.
get a draft pick out of it if you retain
Yep.
salary.
Yeah. And I think that's perfectly logical. I understand Don Waddell's stance on not wanting to. I just if you have to eat that 4 million, you have the cap space right now. You're clearly not going to be signing anybody for more than I would say 4 million right now. You're not signing Cole Cylinder for more than 4, and I don't think any other contracts are up unless you're going to give Fantilli a huge deal, which I don't see happening. I don't see why you wouldn't eat that 4 million, especially when next year you have 23 or 24 million in cap.
Right.
Why wouldn't you? It's just, I if I, if the decision was left up to me, I'm trading Line and eating 50% because I think you get a better
Yeah.
deal.
I'm
Eating
trading.
50%.
See, if you trade Line at the beginning of the season, I think you'll get
Hmm.
those offers. Yeah, you have to retain him at 50%. This is
Yep.
why at the trade deadline, he's going to get traded. Because if I retain
Oh yeah.
50% at the trade deadline, it's cheaper for me.
Yep.
Right? It's cheaper for any other team.
Right.
I don't think I think he gets traded this offseason, or not this offseason, at the trade deadline, and he actually plays like a good
Well,
number of games and plays well.
barring he doesn't get injured, because that again, that's another thing that teams are very worried about is can he stay healthy? Because as it sits right now, like his consistency is kind of washy. He'll go 4 or 5 games scoring a goal every game, but then he won't score for 2 weeks. So he's not consistent. His defensive play is
You know where he would
non-existent.
fit?
Where?
Boston.
Yeah, I can see it. I don't see him on top 3 lines, but I could see it.
I could see him fitting on Boston.
I could see it. I just is he durable enough for Boston? Because Boston's another one of those teams that's very physical.
Or Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago would be a good fit. I don't think that they're known as like a physical team, but
Young, fast team.
who does Chicago give up for Line?
They got so many draft picks. They don't even have to trade any of their prospect pool or players. They have almost 30 million in cap space.
Yeah,
Send over a couple second round picks. Here, we'll take up the whole salary. Don't even worry about it.
right,
Because we have the money to spare because we have all these young guys whose contracts are not going to be up for another 4 or 5 years anyways. So
right.
we'll eat up the stuff now. When your contract comes off the books in 2 years, oh, we have to re-sign Connor Bedard. That's fine. We have the money because Line is coming off the books, right? So you just take the contract, and the risk is you potentially get a player that was from Winnipeg that played really well, or the player from Columbus. And on a team like Chicago, I think we would see the player from Winnipeg.
Yeah,
He would
yeah, I can
fly
see that.
around with that team.
Yeah, especially because the pace is going to be a lot quicker.
Exactly. So he wouldn't have to worry about high flying body checks or anything. It's all about skill, movement.
Yeah, which
Exciting
is
brand of hockey. He could be on the second line with Taylor Hall.
yeah, and I think his game is more centered around skill. Actually, if I'm going to be completely honest, I think his entire game is based off of his one timer. But he shows little flashes of brilliance here and there with his skill. But I think he's a sharpshooter at best.
Oh, he's got
Which
one
I
heck
think
of a shot.
I yeah,
One
a
heck of a
hundred
shot.
percent. 100%. When he's healthy, feeling good, playing good, his one timer is next to none. It's a thing of beauty, but I just don't know if you trade based off of somebody's one timer that hasn't really been able to show it in the last 4 years.
St. Louis did it.
Uh,
Dallas did it when they both
yeah,
acquired Brett Hall,
yeah,
and that paid off wonders for them in the years. So why not
yeah,
just go out there and get a bona fide slap shot artist?
yeah. I mean, Ovi's made a career out of it, so
Why not?
yeah. And we'll see. I agree with you though. I don't think that he gets traded this offseason regarding or regardless of the trade speculation. I don't think it happens. I think trade deadline is when you're more likely to see Line get moved.
Yeah. I
So we
mean,
could put that to bed.
that's all. I mean, that's all under our speculation. It could
Right.
happen. It couldn't happen. We don't know what the teams are thinking about. But if you guys agree, feel free to drop it in the comments. If you guys think that Line gets moved earlier into what team, or if he gets moved at the deadline, or maybe even at the beginning of next season, don't hesitate to drop it in the comments. Are there any
Yes.
last words on the Line A
Yeah.
trade? I want to hear
Oh,
it.
online is trade?
On
No,
Line
I
A.
don't. I don't.
No? Okay.
I have nothing else for
Nothing
him.
else? Just a wait and
Nope.
see.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any last words for the show?
Yeah. So, please don't be afraid to drop comments and drop suggestions for topics that are and for upcoming podcasts. We would love to hear it, and if we decide to choose what you just post, we'll pin your comment. Until next time, it's been this is Sam, and this is Reed. We'll catch you on the next one. Stay frosty.